Hey everyone, I'm Ben with From Sinks to Sewers, and I'm here with Ariel Palmieri, Realtor, and we're going to be talking about how her expert negotiation skills ended up saving her client's deal, and hopefully this is going to be useful. Ariel, tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Ariel Palmieri. I've been a realtor with Coldwell Banker Realty here in Ventura County for 19 years, and I have been collaborating with Ben on sewer inspections over the last decade.
So harsh, the last decade. It sounds so long, but it's true. Okay.
Experience counts.
There you go. There you go. I love that. Okay. So let me ask you this. So when you have to talk to your client and recommend an inspector to them, it could be a sewer inspector, it could be a home inspector, chimney, whatever. What is your criteria for your recommendation?
Well, as real estate professionals, it is important that we help guide our clients and make recommendations that we trust, but we also want them to make their own choices ultimately. So we try to recommend more than one inspector in a particular expertise area so that those clients can make their own choice. Sometimes they will call inspectors in advance and talk to them about their style of inspections. Other times they will ask to look at inspection reports. They will sometimes read reviews or ask for other recommendations. Sometimes it comes down to availability. Sometimes it comes down to price. But in many instances, it really comes down to that client's level of comfort with that particular inspector. And what I mean by that is a first-time buyer might have a different need level with an inspection than someone who has purchased multiple homes before. So it's important that we discuss that with our clients in advance, and then we recommend inspectors who we think will fit and meet their needs. And then it all comes together as we look at the timing of our contingency period, availability of inspectors, price of inspectors. While that's less important, I think that's probably the least of importance, but it does all fold into the picture.
Right, right. And so for the viewer, the backstory was, the reason why I asked Ariel to be here was because there was an inspection. I got called for a building drain and sewer lateral inspection. And what ends up happening is everyone thought that it was going to be a formality. There were not going to be any issues. The lateral, the sewer pipe outside was great, but and the home was beautifully remodeled. But the pipe under the house, not so much. And the deal didn't fall through. You negotiated, you did it. And then I get some text messages from you saying, Ben, here we are. My clients are still moving in. Here are some pictures of them doing the work. And it was just like, you did it. And the thing is, for the home buyer, for them, this is just like a one-off. It's just like they meet one realtor, maybe two, three. But for me, this is primarily who I work around. And I see this situation all the time. And unfortunately, what you did, it's not quite the anomaly, but usually the expectation is that the deal fell through. And you didn't let that happen. So you and the listing agent, listing agent deserves some credit as well. But you guys held it together. How did you do it?
Well, first of all, there were willing sellers and willing buyers. And what I mean by that is these sellers wanted to make this work because they had a vested interest in moving forward with this transaction. The buyers wanted the home. They loved the home. They had already started mentally decorating the home, purchasing furniture for the home. They had a move-in date scheduled. So first and foremost, when you have willing sellers and willing buyers, people are going to do what it takes to keep it together, usually. Secondly, the issue that you pointed out was a very significant issue. However, it wasn't an issue where you were saying, red flag, this house is problematic. You were saying, this issue is problematic. Once this issue gets addressed, you should be able to have a quiet enjoyment of this home for years to come.
Right.
So the buyers looked at that as, okay, so as long as this issue gets addressed, we don't have to think about this again, or at least not for a long time. So let's take the necessary steps to address this issue. So in that circumstance, a negotiation was made. The buyers requested that the sellers share in the cost. The buyer said they would take on the responsibility of overseeing the work because that was a few days of a little bit of a mess at the house and some aftermath, cleanup, floor matching. But they were willing to take that on if the sellers were willing to help them in the cost because they knew that once it was done, they would be good.
Right. And it was a beautiful house. That's what I do remember of it. So when you get that bad news from the inspector, what's your usual take on how do you present this to your clients? Do you have a set a set procedure, or is it more based off of this is the clients, this is the emotion range? Is it individual? What are your thoughts?
The truth is always the answer. So, not everybody wants to hear the truth.
There you go, right there.
And the way the truth is presented in terms of, hey, I have really bad news. Are you sitting down for this?
Okay.
Versus, here's the information. I mean, that might change. The information is not going to change. Whether we try to present the information with we're going to prepare you for this, you should sit down, is this a good time? Or give it to you straight. I mean, it's always going to be honest and truthful. That's the common there. So every client reacts to bad news differently. Some clients say, this is a transaction like any business transaction. Yes, it's emotional. Yes, it's my home. But at the end of the day, it is a business transaction. So give it to me straight. That's the purpose of an inspection.
Yeah.
Some clients, oh, this is terrible. This is horrible news. How can my life go on? Well, your life can go on. It's a drain line. So let's talk about this. There are ways to rectify this. And if you are not going to be the one overseeing it, someone is. So you have a choice. We can negotiate and see if we can get to a happy place where you move forward and buy the house, or we move on and buy another house. And in that circumstance, those buyers said, oh no, this is our house. We are buying this house. So then it was really a matter of what is a fair way to meet in the middle or somewhere along that road where everybody feels satisfied, where buyers don't feel like they overpaid for a home or overpaid for a repair, and sellers don't feel like they were taken advantage of and had to discount a price or chip in too much for a repair. So that's where the listing agent and my partner and I work together to represent both the buyer's needs and the seller's needs so that everybody walked away feeling that they had been treated fairly.
Agreed, but the thing is, though, is that wasn't a one-off situation with you. I'm thinking back, and there have been multiple times when you've done the exact same thing. So it wasn't like you just had this time was a willing buyer and a willing seller, unless that's how it always is, and I just can't imagine that's how it always is. You've done this before, so how do you manage that idea of emotions versus like the monetary value or like the precedence of, look, you're moving in and you actually have a bad sewer line, you have a bad roof, whatever it is. So and some people, they look at a home as an emotional based thing. This is my future home where I'm going to raise my family. That's how I looked at it when we bought our house, right? How do you manage that, respect that? Also, but respect, look, seriously, this is what your pocketbook looks like. Do they conflict? Do they match up? How do you do that? That's hard. That's why I don't want your job. Helping other people understand their emotions to see the real objective. You could keep that. I'll stick with sewers.
Well, at the end of the day, what we explain to buyers of homes all the time, from the initial meeting truly, is that unless we're going to a new construction site, you are buying a used home. So whether the home was built 100 years ago, as there have been some homes built over 100 years ago or 100 years ago that we've sold, and even some we've collaborated together on, or whether it was built 5 years ago or 6 months ago, if anyone has already lived in this home, this is now a used home. Nobody likes to think of it that way. But the truth is, it is a used home. So there are things that you are going to have to expect come along with a used home. Whether that's the age of the roof, the age of the sewer, the age of the drain lines, the age of the electrical, the type of electrical, the material used for plumbing lines. All of these things come into it. It's not just how beautiful that home looks, how large that home is, what size yard that home has, how many cars it can park. So we really try hard to prepare our buyer clients from the beginning that there are things about a home that they need to either be willing to accept, or those are things that we need to find out up front whether this home has or not. So I have clients who would like to purchase a home so long as it does not have aluminum wiring. So before we even go look at properties, I'm on the phone calling listing agents saying, does this listing have aluminum wiring? Most listing agents don't have the answer to that. So they call their clients and say, does your home have aluminum wiring? And the client knows or they don't know. Sometimes they look at an old inspection report. So there are some clients who are so specific about that because they've had a previous negative experience that is something we look at from the very beginning. There are other clients who say, just show me the homes. Just show me the homes. I'm going to feel something. Once I feel something and I fall in love with a home, then do what it takes to get me the home. So then we negotiate. We get them into escrow. And then comes the time for inspections. And we tell them, okay, the purpose of the inspections is not necessarily to negotiate for repairs or money off. That is not the purpose. The primary purpose is for you to understand what you are buying.
That's the same one. Yeah. Okay.
So the primary purpose is for you to understand what you're buying, and you can have as many or as few inspections as you want to get to that point. Once you understand that you are buying a home that cosmetically looks beautiful, but that the roof could be at the end of its life expectancy, the drain lines might have a problem, the sewer lateral might have a problem, then at that point you can determine, are these things that you can take on yourself as a buyer? Are these things that you feel are justifiable based on the price that you negotiated to get the home for? Or are these things that you feel the seller should be responsible for? And if you feel the seller should be responsible for them, then as realtors, our job is to try to negotiate to help the sellers see that they may have a responsibility here.
Got it.
There's no requirement that the sellers make most repairs, but we certainly can try. But if we frame it in a way to our clients from the very beginning, before we even have a home under contract, that the purpose of the inspection is not to provide a punch list to the seller of what they want the seller to repair. The contract says in California, homes are sold as is. That is pre-printed in the contract.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Most buyers don't necessarily believe it or go along with it.
I've always been told everything's negotiable in real estate.
Well, that's true too. But in the contract, it says homes are sold as is.
Got
So
it.
yes, inspections, contingencies, it's all negotiable. But buyers should go into it with the expectation that the inspection is for their purpose, to understand what they're buying, to determine if they want to move forward, or to determine if they want to request repairs to be made by a seller.
Got it.
A seller who is reasonable and wants to feel pride at the end of the transaction that they sold a solid home, that they made reasonable repairs, that they delivered a quality product, will often step up and take care of those things.
So, two thoughts is that my first thought is that it really sounds like when you are the listing agent, you also have to have a similar conversation with your seller, with the current home buyer, and say, look, that same thing. You're selling the home. It's like this. It's on the flip side, right? But you also have to prepare them the exact same way. You're shaking. And then the other thought is, so you talked about like how you're emotionally kind of preparing them. I think that's, if it's not the right term, but you're emotionally preparing them for this. But then also, do you do anything financially? Do you like look in their finances on the back end after they moved in and say, look, you're moving in, we got you the home loan, we got you approved and everything. But when you moved in and your finances are like this, maybe you have $10,000 liquid cash for repairs, or do you feel like that's overstepping the bounds of the realtor? What's your take?
It's not the realtor's job or level of expertise to be their financial advisor. Now, clearly, as a realtor, if someone is approved for a home price of up to X amount, and I know they can't go a penny more because that is all the money they have to make that purchase, pay their earnest money deposit, pay for inspections, put their down payment in, and get the loan. Obviously, if it comes out during the inspection that this home needs $25,000 worth of work just to make it move-in ready, I'm going to have a conversation with them and say, I have concerns about this. We were just advised by an inspector that you should not move into this home unless these repairs are made. It doesn't matter if the seller makes them or you make them, but someone needs to make them in order for this home to be habitable. If it's a situation that extreme, I will say to them, my understanding was we were at the top of your limit with your price point. So now, are you in a position where you can make these repairs yourself? And if you're not, before we cancel and go look for something else, would you like us to see if the sellers will make these repairs?
Got it.
And then it's a presentation to the listing agent. We have ready and willing buyers. They would like to buy the house. However, the repairs necessitated are too severe for them. They will not be able to afford to make these repairs and live in the home.
Gotcha.
Are the sellers able to contribute?
Got it. Got it. No, that's really good information. I'm learning a ton. These questions came from another realtor who not as experienced as you. And so these are some of the things that they actually sent me over to talk about negotiation. And first one is, how do you approach a client who's fixated on a specific purchase price, especially when the price is not feasible due to the current market, necessary repairs, or the seller's firm stance on the current offer?
Well, sometimes we have to have a reality check and determine if a client's budget and expectation of what they're willing to pay will work with anything that is in the current inventory. Sometimes it is, but often it's not, and often we have to help a client adjust their expectations. That's not an easy conversation to have. Sometimes it is showing them what homes would meet their criteria in terms of price point. Then it's showing them what homes would meet their criteria in terms of actual items that the home has. If there's a large variation between those two things, the home that has everything they want is $200,000 more than the home they can afford, then they have to determine, are they willing to buy a home they can afford that has less, or continue in whatever their current situation may be until they can get to a point where they can afford the home that has more to offer.
Got it. What strategies do you use to help clients understand the long-term benefits of home ownership and the potential value of investing a bit more right now to secure a home that meets their needs?
Well, the American dream is homeownership. And one of the reasons of that is because homeownership helps people build equity. It helps people build generational wealth. It provides shelter.
Stability.
We've talked about the situation where people who are renting might not know when they will be asked to leave if they're in a rental situation where a seller might want to move into a home. And for those who are in a position where they stay in their home for 30 years or more and pay off a 30-year loan, they may ultimately live in their home without a mortgage payment toward their golden years. And that's truly the American dream.
Right.
So we think that what real estate in this country has done for generations is allow families to settle down, plant roots, raise their family in a place where hopefully they can have that security that they will have it for generations to come. We talk about that. Some clients are very statistic based. So we show graphs and charts that show over the years how real estate has proven to be a sound investment. Do I have a crystal ball? Can I guarantee that real estate is always a sound investment? No, of course not. We've gone through markets where the market has turned and people have been in positions where they've had to take drastic measures to sell their homes for less than they've owed on them. That's unfortunate when that occurs. However, overall, real estate is a very sound investment. And we talk with clients about that.
Right. A 30-year loan really does protect you against inflation. I mean, that's just what I've seen. It's big deal. And also to mention the fact that you mentioned that stability of being a renter, when you have that home, boy, that is huge right there. It was a very, we had a great landlord, but it was very unsettling where we had to say, can we have a dog? What if we do this? Or, what if we do that? And we just didn't know, what if things were going to change? Now it's like we're in the home and it's for us, and we get to decide on everything. We've lived in the house for over 8 years, so turned out to be the best decision that we ever made. And it was really because I just ignored, I had great advice from a realtor who told me, calm down, I got this, and I listened. Or maybe I just listened to my wife. But it turned out for the best. It really did. So let me ask you this next one. Okay. How do you balance the discussion between the immediate need for repair, like let's say a roof or sewer issues, and the overall value of the home? What negotiation tactics do you suggest for dealing with such situations?
Well, there are items that do need to be addressed right away. Obviously, you can't move into a home where the roof is leaking and you can see daylight through it, or where you don't trust the sewer of a home or the drain of a home because you might have catastrophic backups or worse. But you can move into a home that is not painted the color you like or that doesn't have the right tile work. So it's talking with clients about what are the immediates and what are the items that they can save up for and address down the road. And one of my favorite things to tell clients is living in a home is the best way to determine what types of cosmetic changes they would like to make to a home. Because when you live there, you use the home differently, you see the home differently. So taking on a kitchen renovation, for example, for cosmetic purposes or for function purposes, in my opinion, is better to do at least a year after moving into a home.
That's good advice. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Now, how do you guide clients through the cost-benefit analysis to help them see the potential return on investment of addressing repair issues now versus the long-term value of the property?
Interesting question. So,
I hope you got it because I don't understand. I'm just a plumber on this one, yeah.
no, I mean, once again, going back to long term, people are building equity in real estate. So most of us who have bought homes in the last 10 to 15 years, I think would agree that it was a good choice because
Yes.
our cost to be in the home is considerably less based on that than it would be if we were to buy the same home today. So for those of us who were fortunate enough to get into the real estate market 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 18 years ago, for example, we're in a better place now than if we were starting out today.
Got it.
That said, not everybody could get into the real estate market a decade ago. So everyone has to start somewhere. So it's a matter of purchasing a home that meets their needs, provides them with shelter, and is a safe place to be and to, if they have a family, raise their family. And that will work for them. You can't put somebody who has a tremendous difficulty with stairs in a 3-level townhome.
Right.
Because as much as they want to make it work and you want to make it work, if somebody is really having a difficulty with stairs and they say, I prefer a single-story home, it's our job to look very hard and find them a single-story home.
I get that. That one. I got parents who are a little bit older who live in the second floor. And so that actually, your example kind of hits me a little bit. So what methods do you find effective in managing clients' expectations and helping them stay grounded in the realities of the current market while still feeling positive about their investment?
Absolutely. Telling people what's available, showing people what's available, showing people the statistics and the data that homes in a particular city are selling in an average of 5 days on the market or 10 days on the market. They're selling for over the asking price, not under the asking price. Or if they're selling for under the asking price, what the average is. Are they selling for 95% of the asking price? 98% of the asking price? Is this home priced correctly? So we have so much statistical data at our fingertips. It's really important for realtors to understand it. And it's really important and equally important for realtors to explain that to the clients. We're not just making up numbers, pulling numbers out of the sky.
Right.
There's data to support pricing.
An informed client, I think, would be much more happier with what they buy. Got it. So I guess me and you've been talking for a while, and I really appreciate your time. So let me just wrap it up with this: is that if you can go back and you could talk to Ariel, who just came into the real estate industry, at her 1 or 2 year mark, what advice would you give her? From your experience, from your viewpoint right now, you must have so much experience to share.
That's a great question. Every day is something new. And it doesn't matter if we've been in the business for 5 years or, in my case, 19 years and probably eventually 30 years. There are things that come up every single day that are different and unexpected. So the first thing I would say is always tell the truth. The next thing I would say is don't pretend to know. If you don't know something, find out.
Right.
A great answer is, I don't know, but I will find out. And thirdly, make sure that everybody has that same goal. An analogy I like to use is that as realtors, buyer's agent, selling agent, we want to put together a scenario where at the end of the day, figuratively speaking, buyers and sellers are walking hand in hand toward the sunset of a closed escrow.
I can see that. Okay,
So
yeah, I can see that.
everybody's happy. Buyers don't feel that they overpaid. Sellers don't feel that they gave away their house. You want everybody to feel that their goals were achieved.
Is there anything else that you think that we missed talking about this?
I just think it's never assume. So for example, going back all the way back to the beginning of our conversation, the home where you found the issue with the drain lines.
Yeah.
We had a clear sewer report, but it was from 2 years ago. The city, that occurred in a city where they require sewer reports to be done once every 10 years if a home is going to change hands. They were satisfied with a 2-year-old sewer report. But we discussed it. We discussed the fact that something can change in a matter of a shorter period of time. And we also discussed the idea that the sewer report itself didn't look at the drain lines. And then I didn't make a choice. I presented that information truthfully and factually to the buyers. I told them what we had and what we could get. And did they want to spend an extra, I think it was $395 for more research, or did they want to go on the report that they were provided from 2 years earlier that didn't show what the drains looked like? And they said, for the size of the investment we are making in this home, we would like to spend the extra $395 just to be sure that everything's okay.
Got it.
And it turned out that there was a significant issue. It's now been addressed. Everybody's happy.
Got it. Got it. So if anybody watching wants to go ahead and call you for, for you to be their realtor, how do they get a hold of you?
They can reach me by phone is the best way. My phone number is 805-746-2070. Or they can find me on the web, search vchomes.com.
Okay.
VC for Ventura County.
Okay. And if anybody needs a sewer inspector and drain cleaner, okay? But my phone number is 805-758-5901. And Ariel, thanks a lot for doing this. This was a good thing. So I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Thanks.